All right, hello YouTube. Welcome back to the Grease Comics YouTube channel. Today's video, we are going to be talking about Arianne Martell, where I think she's going to go in Winds of Winter, and what is up with her character. So, before we get into the video, if you guys like to like, subscribe, and comment, please do it. Helps the channel grow. People might like this content as well. And let's get into it. So, Arianne, her plot is leading her towards young Griff. Now, I think for me, I personally believe that she is going to hook up with young Griff. I think it makes a lot of sense with what we've known from Arianne. She's very good at manipulating people, especially men. And we know young Griff is going to be a younger man, kind of impressionable. And I think what George loves to do is use love and romance as a flaw of characters. And I personally believe that what will end up happening is that Duran will, more or less, after reconvening with Arianne, commit the Dornish forces to young Griff's cause. So Arianne, in my opinion, will serve as our main POV for the young Griff camp outside of John Con. And I think for me, she is a character that is just going to be heavily involved with becoming probably the queen for a short time. Now, I think outside of that, what else can we look at for Arianne's character? Now, Arianne, I think, is a character that will also go through this idea of figuring out that Tyene was the person that betrayed her. I have theorized that out of all the people that possibly could have betrayed Tyene, her friends don't seem likely, as that just doesn't make any sense because also they get punished as well. So when you think about it, who would have known about their whole plot to crown Myrcella? Well, obviously, Tyene would have. We constantly told, if you look at the chapter with Arianne and her plot, it's constantly told to us that Arianne completely trusts Tyene, when other characters in the story, like an Areo Hota, notes that Tyene maybe is the most dangerous sand snake, where he is frightened that Tyene might have poisoned Duran when they first meet up in the story. There's this idea where Tyene may poison Duran, and I think every indication has taught us that Tyene is not a trustworthy person. So I think a lot of what we'll see from Arianne's character development is growing as a person, and understanding who betrayed her. I think that's going to be a big mystery because if you think about it, it's left very ambiguous in the last book. So I think for me, that is a question that I think should be answered for Arianne's plot. And I think we'll find out that it was Tyene. And I think that will create some drama within the Sand Snakes and Arianne as a whole, where Arianne, to me, will gain a ton of power. And if we're going to talk about Arianne's plotline, we kind of have to talk about Duran as well. Duran has been slowly crafting his revenge on Lannister for years and years and years. And I think he will actually get it, but it will come with a cost. Because Duran and Arianne choose to go with young Griff, they will not end up going for Dany. And the interesting thing here is going to be, well, because they do that, yes, they get their short-term revenge on the Lannisters, because I think young Griff will end up beating Cersei, and he will take the throne for a time. So Arianne and the Dornish people will reclaim the Iron Throne, but I think Daenerys comes over, and I think this is where the problem begins. Because the Dornish forces, and I think Arianne will marry young Griff, which is kind of weird when you think about it, because they are actually related. But with that being said, I think the two do marry. Because again, this isn't a problem when you look at incest in this world. It's not really a problem. The Targaryens believe that they can marry into themselves to keep bloodlines pure, whatever. And if you also think about it, if young Griff is actually a Blackfire, then this actually would be fine in that regard as well. So to me, I think that is where Arianne goes, and she sits in power for a little while. I think she's going to be a main force in Aegon's company and a big advisor, because Arianne, I think, will have that kind of sway over him. And when Dany comes over, I think they're going to get wiped out, because I think that young Griff and Dany will not get along, because of the idea that I think young Griff will be much more cocky. Think about it. He's a young kid that will gain power very quickly. He's going to be king. He's going to have a wife that is described as being very attractive. He has gotten really everything he wants. He's become the most powerful person in a very short amount of time. And we know that he has a temper. It's already been showed to us by Tyrion. I think that all of this may go to his head a little. Where I'm not saying he'll go crazy, but I think he will become a little bit more arrogant, where he's going to sit here going, why should I give up my throne for you, Daenerys? Like, why should I do that? I'm the one that conquered Westeros. Where were you to help me? And I think that will be kind of his sentiment and attitude towards Daenerys, where I think young Griff realizes that given that if the situations were flipped, if Daenerys had claimed the throne and he had popped up and came over with like an army, say, or whatever, with the Golden Company, would she have married him? And I think it's doubtful. So I think it's one of those ideas where I think young Griff will have a different attitude towards Daenerys. And because Arianne is going to be linked into that camp, and the Dornish will be in full support of young Griff, it's destined to not go well. Dany will have dragons. Maybe their armies will be about equal at this point, but the dragons make the difference. The side without dragons is always going to lose, more than likely. Now, to be fair, young Griff will have the best fighting force against the Dornish against the dragons that we know of. With that being said, their tactics were more sustainable in actual Dorne. So I don't know how that would play out. I still think Daenerys is going to beat young Griff and eventually take the throne, but I think there's going to be a lot of mind games that go into that, where the people I think are going to be in full support of Aegon, while they'll be completely against Daenerys and seeing her more as a foreign invader. So I think Arianne is doomed either way. I think she's going to probably die to Dany or some other way in relation to Aegon's camp falling. And that is what I think Arianne's fate it will be. Let me know if you guys think a little bit differently. If you think that maybe Arianne will not be a companion or will not marry Aegon, or if you think Arianne might actually survive instead. I think, to me, she's doomed to fail just based upon the camp that she's starting to support. And I think House Martell, it's going to be a poetic thing where they've waited for revenge for so long that by the time they get it, it actually is their own undoing. Because I think what Winds of Winter and Dream of Spring will tell us is that revenge is never good. It will never sustain you. It will only leave you with more pain and more hunger or thirst for violence. And I think what George is wanting to tell us is that is not a good thing, which I think is very obvious. I think they're also going to play on the idea where we talked about this with Arya's character, where I don't think that Lady Stoneheart will succeed after her Revenge Red winning. I think she will die. I think there will be consequences to her actions. And I think Arya will start to learn that lesson of revenge and violence and murder is not something that she should be looking to go down that path. But thank you guys all for watching this video. And we will be doing, I think, Euron tomorrow. So I hope you guys are excited for Euron. And I will see you guys all in the next video. Bye, guys.